9th video in the rapid series where we discuss all the important current affairs for the preparation of prelims 2022. So let's begin today's video. So the first news is about the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC. So recently one more report was released by IPCC, and the main takeaway from that report was that even if the global temperature is set to rise at 1.5 degrees centigrade, even then in that situation also, in the coming 2 decades, the world is going to face unavoidable multiple climate hazards. So earlier at least it was told कि अगर हम 1.5 डिग्री तक इसको लिमिट रखते हैं climate change को, climate rise को, then the hazardous events would decrease and things would be under control. But with the pace with which the things are going, with the business as usual approach, now the situation has arrived that even if it is 1.5 degrees centigrade, there will be catastrophic events happening in the coming 2 decades. So this is the main point put forward by this report. Next, one more important keyword which the report mentions is this wet bulb temperature. So what is this wet bulb temperature? This key you should know. So, whenever evaporation happens, so it takes heat. It is a process that involves heat. It requires heat as an input. So it takes that heat from the surrounding environment. So suppose this is your hand and these are the sweats on your hand. So whenever the sweat is evaporating, the sweat is taking some part of heat from your hand and it is evaporating. So that's why in this process, since it has taken some part of heat from your hand, it will make your hand colder than it was earlier. So this is a natural process of cooling your body, especially in summer days when you sweat. So this is a basic science that you might have read in your school days. Now, suppose this water droplet is there in the environment and if it evaporates, so it takes heat for this evaporation process from the surrounding of this atmosphere. So basically the atmosphere temperature reduces whenever this evaporation happens. So wet bulb temperature is the lowest temperature to which is the lowest level to which the temperature can decrease in the atmosphere whenever evaporation happens. So with evaporation, temperature decreases. So the maximum to the lowest point to which it can decrease, suppose, is 30 degrees centigrade. And if we say that this wet bulb temperature it has increased from 30 to 35 degrees centigrade, so that means that even with evaporation, the temperature cannot go below this 35 degrees centigrade. Okay, so that is the meaning. So in general, if wet bulb temperature is rising, that means there is an overall increase in temperature in that particular area. Because below the lowest to which the temperature can decrease due to evaporation is increasing. Okay, so this is the concept, and what has been pointed out in this report is in many Indian cities like Lucknow and Patna, so in these cities, the wet bulb temperature has reached more than the earlier levels. It has reached 35 degrees centigrade, and it is also set to increase in future consistently if the things go as usual. Okay, so it will be rising consistently, and it has now also मतलब increased from the previous level. So that is the thing जो इस report में point out किया गया है. So this is about this wet bulb temperature and about this impact on Indian cities. Now, about what is IPCC? IPCC is basically an international body. So this was set up in 1988 और दो agencies ने इसको मिलकर set up किया था और वो हैं WMO and UNEP. So World Meteorological Organization and UNEP, they came together in 1988 and this international body came forward. So this is about this history, and the membership for IPCC, it is open to all those who are also the members of WMO and UNEP. So the membership is open to all the members of these two agencies. Main purpose of this body is to carry on research, to prepare the scientific studies and provide the assessment reports. And these assessment reports become the basis for the governments all over the world to take inputs from and then to chart out their own policies in order to mitigate and in order to adapt to the climate changes and environmental changes which is happening. So this is about the IPCC and the report that has been released recently. Next is Millennium Challenge Corporation. So MCC. What is MCC is first you need to know. It is an independent US foreign aid agency. So it is based in US and it is a foreign aid agency. That means it gives aid, financial aid basically to different countries, basically the developing countries. So it is a US based aid agency which gives aid, which helps monetarily to different developing countries. And it selects those countries based on some 20 parameters. So there are some 20 parameters on which it selects some countries, and to those countries it provides aid. So what happened in 2014 was Nepal was selected as one of the countries, was qualified to be one of the countries, because out of those 20 policy parameters, it was meeting 16 parameters. So that's why Nepal was selected, and this happened in 2014 itself. But Nepal did not start receiving the aid because Nepal itself refused to approve the receipt of that aid because of its concern that this might be casting shadow over the relation Nepal has with China. Okay, so Nepal has relation with China, and this aid that would come to Nepal would be from US. So definitely China would have problems. Okay, China may see it that it is that Nepal is becoming an ally of US, or China may also see it as an extension of US Indo-Pacific policy in the Asia region, in the Southeast Asia region. So Nepal's worry was that receiving such an aid from US-based agency might worry China and might cast shadow on the Nepal-China relationship. So that's why it has not approved receiving this grant, even if it was selected for the receipt. So what happened recently that Nepal Parliament approved this MCC, which is a 500 million grant from USA. So earlier it was selected in 2014 itself, but it was only recently that Nepal Parliament approved the receipt of MCC. But then why did it approve? What changed now? Because US agreed to explicitly sign on one more declaration, which stated that it is not, this particular grant is not a part of Indo-Pacific strategy. Okay, so this is not a part of Indo-Pacific strategy, and Nepal's constitution will be above the provisions of the grant of the agreement. So this additional assurance was given by US to Nepal. Okay, so now Nepal is assured that this will not be seen as an alliance or as a tilt towards US, and this will not be deteriorating its relationship with China. So now that's why the Nepal's parliament has approved the receipt of this grant. Okay, so this was about MCC. You just remember these points, broad points, that MCC is an independent US foreign agency, and it selects countries to give grant, and the selection process is based on some 20 policy parameters. So those countries who satisfy most of these parameters, they are selected for the aid. And over some parts of this MCC, some sections which are important. Section 7.1 says that whatever agreement, whatever MCC provisions are there, they will prevail over the domestic laws. Another one is Section 6.8 that says that it will grant immunity to the MCC staff in all courts and tribunals of Nepal. So these sections still hold, okay, but this declaration is signed that it is not seen as part of Indo-Pacific strategy. Okay, so this is about the main components of MCC. Next, some miscellaneous events are also there. One is Karakattam dance. Karakattam dance is a dance form which belongs to Kerala. So this is the only thing that you need to remember. It belongs to Kerala. And the reason it was in news because there has been a demand to recognize it as the agricultural art form. Okay, so this is a demand. It has not yet been agreed upon. But yes, what you need to remember is this dance form belongs to Kerala, and it mainly worships the Mariamman rain goddess. So in the festivals. So this is one. Next is Operation Ganga. So Operation Ganga is recently launched by an initiative by the government to bring back the Indians who are stranded in Ukraine. So this is about Operation Ganga. On similar lines, there were some operations which were carried out previously. For example, Operation All Out to flush out the militants in Kashmir region, and this was in 2015. Then there was Operation Calm Down, which was in 2016, again in the Jammu and Kashmir region. Like this, there are many other operations, but you need to remember only the recent ones, and the most recent one was Operation Ganga, related to bringing back Indians from Ukraine. Next is Sahara. Sahara is an initiative to provide counseling services, to provide psychosocial counseling To whom? To the children of those BSF Jawans who have made the supreme sacrifice, who were killed in their course of duty or who somehow were martyred in their course of duty. So the children of those BSF Jawans, they must be having feeling some or the other emotional difficulties or emotional challenges in their lives. So, to give them counseling services to help them deal with their mental health and provide them the counseling services and guide them towards their in their life, this Sahara initiative was launched. So, basically, this is an initiative as a collaboration between two bodies, which is NCPCR and Border Security Force, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, NCPCR, and Border Security Force. These two agencies came, collaborated, and they launched Sahara scheme. Next, Kuki insurgency was in news, and Kuki insurgency in Manipur. So the context is that the community was in news due to the recent legislative assembly elections over there. But the context is not important. But what is important is this community, this Kuki community, since it was in news. So Kuki is not a single tribe's name. It is a community which includes multiple tribes. Okay, so those are a kind of big ethnic group which further involves multiple tribes in within it. So originally they inhabit in Manipur, Mizoram, and Assam, and not just in India, they are also found in Myanmar and some parts of Bangladesh. So this is where they are found. In terms of India, in terms of Manipur specifically, 30% of the population in Manipur are Kukis. So Kukis tribes comprise 30% of population in Manipur. So in Manipur, if you visualize it like these are the hills and this is the valley. So in the hilly areas, two major communities live. One is Kuki and one is Nagas. So they are almost always at conflict with each other. Okay, and they both live in the hilly areas. In the valley region, Mighty community lives. So Mighties are not they are not tribal communities. Kukis and Nagas are tribal communities and they both live in the hilly areas and they are always at conflict with each other. Who lives in the valleys? The Mighty community, and they are not tribal. They are not tribal community. They are Vaishnavite Hindus, and they live in the valley regions of Manipur. So these are the main three communities found in Manipur. So Mighties are non-tribal Vaishnavite Hindus, and they live in the valley region. Naga tribes along with Kukis in the hilly areas. In terms of the Legislative Assembly, there are 60 seats and 40 seats, that is more than 50% is held by Mighty community, and 20 seats are held by Kukis and Nagas. Okay, so and there is one concept of Kuki land which was demanded by some of the outfits, some of the militant Kuki outfits for a Kuki land, which include again what is Kuki land is has different interpretations. For some militant groups, it involves only the regions in India. For other militant groups, Kuki land includes not just the regions within India but also outside India. So that detail you don't need to know. All you need to know is that it's this term Kuki land in case it is asked in any form. So you should know. So this is about the Kuki community and the related important facts. Next is Program for Development of Semiconductors and Display Manufacturing Ecosystem. So this was a program recently approved by the Union Cabinet. So the main idea is, as the name suggests, to improve the semiconductor production in our country, our capacity to produce semiconductors in its different form, because semiconductors are important for electronics. So in electronics, you can consider different things. You can consider phones most importantly, and considering the push that India is giving for 5G technology and for smartphone penetration for digital India. So all these is based upon the availability of such electronic devices at an affordable cost to more and more people. Okay, so that's why since these electronic devices are important, semiconductors becomes important because these are needed to produce these devices. So that's why this particular scheme was approved recently. So the main purpose is to give incentives for every part of the supply chain related to semiconductors. So it may include electronic components, sub-assemblies, even the finished goods. So every part of the supply chain will be covered, and it has come with an outlay of 76,000 crores. So this is about the outlay, this is about the idea of the scheme. So semiconductors, as I said, has opportunities to be used in many sectors like ESDM, electronic subsystem design, manufacturing space, embedded design space, semiconductor space in itself. So embedded design space is like some electronic devices which also use some sort of software in it. For example, microwave ovens are there. So in these, they are electronic equipment, but they have embedded software in it with which they run their operations. So such devices, in manufacturing such devices, so all these things, they require semiconductors. So basically, overall, it wants to uh, position India as a global hub for electronic manufacturing. So this is the underlying idea behind this scheme. So this is it for today. We will meet in our next session with a set of new topics. And till then, keep studying well, keep revising the topics, keep watching the videos, and all the very best.